I agree with you. So let's move on to the AFC West, and let's start with the Denver Broncos, your dark horse last year. Not much has changed for them outside of the head coach, and I think that last year you could make the argument that the head coach was the prime issue.
Well, Sean Payton would make that argument.
Well, he would, and he has.
In fact, you believe he did make that argument.
He's made it a lot.
Yeah.
But I think that does matter because Nathaniel Hackett looked out of his element, over his head, whatever euphemism you want to use to. He didn't know what he was doing.
Yeah.
But I think that there is a legitimate question as to whether Russ regressed a little bit and has, because his career in Seattle, he did a lot of winning, but he also did a lot of what I call 30-yard passes for 5-yard gains because he was running around a lot. And I don't know if he's that same guy.
He has had a lot of heave it and amazing catches, and you're like, God, how does that keep happening? Now, don't get me wrong, he did a lot, and I think he was a great quarterback in Seattle. I expected him to be a great quarterback in Denver. Honestly, I didn't think it was big. I don't know what happened to him. Yeah, I'm hoping that Sean Payton can, to me, it almost felt like he was, maybe we'll go back to this confidence thing, maybe overly confident in his abilities going into Denver. He just thought he didn't need to do whatever it is he needed to do to win his team or do it. He was just like, I'm the guy. You guys should be thankful I'm here. And then he didn't play well, and it just made it worse and worse and worse. And I just think that maybe Sean Payton's going to try to get that out of him if he can. We'll see.
I think there is something to that because there were a lot of rumblings and rumors about he had his own locker room, really wasn't the best teammate type thing. And Sean Payton's not going to have that. Like Sean Payton, say what you want about him. I felt like he got way too much credit for winning one Super Bowl because if it wasn't for an onside kick, they might not be winning the said Super Bowl.
That's fair. That's fair.
They didn't win another one and didn't even make it to another one. But they did a lot of winning, and he had Drew Brees. Obviously, that helps when you have a Hall of Fame quarterback. And I think this is going to be more of a test of Sean Payton as a head coach because now you're coming into this dumpster fire.
Yeah.
It seems as if, though, and we've joked, or you have joked about Sean Payton mentioning Nathaniel Hackett, but I do think that there is a unifying factor to how much everybody on that roster hated Nathaniel Hackett. And the good coaches find those narratives to sort of play into the season. And if that's what gets this team unified to be good, because last year they were the laughing stock of the league.
Yeah.
On primetime 6 times, it was awful to watch them play football. And what professional? Most professionals don't want to hear that about themselves.
Yeah. I think there's probably a lot of motivation in Denver to do well. I asked a friend of mine who's a huge Denver Broncos fan. All right, how you feeling about Denver this year? What are you thinking? And there's a little bit of hope I think with Sean Payton maybe coming in right in the ship a bit, but there's concerns about the offense still. It's just a bit of an unknown. They don't know, and obviously preseason doesn't matter much, but the first preseason game probably didn't give them any hope. They didn't look all that well put together. That may not matter. I think losing Tim Patrick again kind of sucks for them. That's an unfortunate situation just because I think his deep field threat was so good that it sucks to lose him.
Injuries are always going to happen. And
but the defense is good, but they're playing in the AFC West.
So
that's the biggest thing that's going to hold them back.
I agree. And a lot of these teams that we're not sure about, that we've talked about, what it comes down to for me is how are they compared to the other teams just in their division? Let's not even go larger picture in the AFC, but the Kansas City Chiefs are still here. The only thing that really changed for them is life without Eric Bieniemy, but how much of that is really a factor because Mahomes probably was the offensive coordinator for the most part. But I think the thing to watch about the Chiefs is when is Kelsey going to hit the precipitous fall? Because he's been their guy and they lean on him a lot. And when is he going to go from being what he is to just another guy or another tight end? It's got to happen at some point.
I was watching highlights of that dude the other day, and I was watching him put these moves on defensive backs and linebackers, and I was like, God, man. And I thought, oh, it's a linebacker. That makes sense. But then I'm like, no, that's like a safety. Kelsey's not a small dude. And I'm just like, God, how do you not stay with that guy? But he does a good job of getting open. You're right. How long can he do it? I don't know. They're
going to ride him until...
They're a good team, man. They don't have the enemy anymore, but, I mean, they still have a head coach there who's good with offense.
Yes.
And they have Patrick Mahomes, who is as much as Lamar Jackson is a unique talent, Patrick Mahomes is a unique talent in a different way with just his ability to read football, the field, and get passes and put them in very precise places from all arm angles and positions.
They're a team,
and he's
Mahomes.
He's got the confidence that Joey Burrow has. The exact same type, right? That same kind of level of like, cool customer, I got this. I'm not worried about it. We're gonna win.
And
they're a good football team. I think they have they are purposely the top team in that conference and in
Oh,
that
they've been
and
built
in that
well.
division.
So don't forget, though, last year, Mahomes had 4,000 yards and wasn't thrown to Tyreek Hill.
Yeah,
And Kelsey had a lot of those yards. But they're a team that gets the benefit of the doubt until they prove that they're not
sure.
that team anymore, because you have that head coach, 2-time Super Bowl champions now. They got over that hump.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, the sky is the limit for Patrick Mahomes. Like, you kind of almost think, have we seen the best of Mahomes? And you're like, I don't know. Like, what is he capable of?
Maybe.
Seems to be capable of a bunch.
Who knows?
But the division continues with
Yeah.
the Chargers. So the Chargers are a team that I feel like are in make or break mode because they have a good quarterback.
Yeah.
I think it's obvious. Their coach has been a little too cute for my liking in terms of the analytics. They bring in Kellen Moore, though, a guy who you are familiar with. I think the biggest thing about the Chargers last year was not going down the field enough, and you have a quarterback who has a cannon.
Mm-hmm.
I think Kellen Moore is going to solve some of those problems a little bit, right? Because I think that he's going to come in and have a little bit of a different take on the offense. But are the Chargers the kind of team that can get over the hump of winning, because they're a franchise that's not been able to do it, and then they lose to the Jaguars last year? What does that bring them this year?
Yeah, that was our biggest thing we said all last year with the Chargers. They found ways to lose games that they were winning by doing dumb coaching things, in my opinion, or poor game management decisions. That's my concern with Kellen Moore. Did he learn from his mistakes and doubt? He had this high-flying offense, the highest scoring offense in the league, like 3 years running or something like that. Great offense. They put all these points on the board. But it wasn't that caused him to be moved on from in Dallas. It was a bit of situational football. There were times when it's like, just run the ball here. Don't do that. And he would do that. Or don't just run the ball here. You need to think about this. Or where's your screen game at? What are you doing with that? No screen game. There was no screen game in Dallas last year at all. They were the only team in the NFL that couldn't run a screen. How the hell is that possible?
He's got Eckler this year.
I worry, that's my worry, is that you're bringing in a guy who's got an amazing offensive talented mind, but he's shown trouble in the past of how to translate that genius into situational game tactics. Maybe, hopefully he's learned from that, and if he has, I think they could be a very dangerous team. And that kind of goes back to Herbert. Herbert's clearly talented. He's great, but what he hasn't done is kind of win the games you need to win. He's got all the stats. He's got the prototypical arm. He's got the pedigree, and he's got the background where he was like a number 2 pick, and so everyone's going to talk about, well, the number 2 pick, so he's got to be great, and he is great. They're not winning. So he's got to get over that hump, and that's a team thing that coaches and all have to get together and figure that out. I think that's a talented roster, though. They should be good.
Yeah, but I think if they don't
should have been good last year. I don't know.
They don't win, Staley's gone, and that
definitely
leaves the Las Vegas Raiders, who I feel like are going to be in last place in this division. Josh McDaniels, for as great as an offensive
that depends
coordinator,
on Russ.
Well, it could.
Yeah.
Honestly, though, I feel like you stabilize at the head coaching position, and I think that Josh McDaniels is probably the worst head coach in this division. I hate to say it
That's
about
fair.
him, but I hate to say it about him. He is a guy.
I don't know, Staley, though.
Yes,
He hasn't really shown a lot of greatness either.
This is McDaniel's second stint, and don't
That's
forget
fair.
he was handed a playoff team last year,
That's
and
true.
they were precipitously worse
Yeah, that's
than they
true.
were. They're going with Jimmy G. They moved on from Derek Carr, who's now in New Orleans,
Yeah.
and they lost Darren Waller, got traded to the Giants. So
Yeah.
who are you relying on in this team? Not many people.
Devontae Adams, who I believe is hurt.
Yeah, and that's it. But if you have nobody to throw to him,
They keep their running
it's a
back?
problem.
Or did they release?
Jacobs, well, he's in one of those guys in that conglomerate of running backs who didn't get a big-time deal. So
is he going to play or not?
led the league in rushing a couple seasons ago. So it's possible that they could generate some offense. They're just not a team that I trust.
I think you're right, though. This could be the worst team in this division.
It could be. And actually, I think they could be one of the worst teams in the league.